construction that this study is undertaken.
Managing this interchange that's going to be going on for the next foreseeable future, I think, first of all, it's extremely important that we keep everybody informed and that there's ongoing dialogue that goes on between the communities and as well involving and having out MTO staff, as I know is going to be happening next week. And that's a nice start, but I think that has to be an ongoing thing throughout the entire process. Also having city staff out to listen to what's going on in the interior streets throughout the neighborhoods, and again, talking about what we can do for having some innovative measures as well to calm and manage traffic, and also to talk to Mississauga Transit to see if that on the streets that they're diverting, that we can possibly have a couple of temporary bus stops put in place as well to accommodate people that are being displaced and being put out. So those are a few measures. Thank you.
Well, the Dixie QEW interchange, of course, is a project of the province of Ontario through the Ministry of Transportation. And I want to give credit to former MVP Charles Sousa and our current MVP Rudy Cazzetto for championing this project. This is a long time in coming, and anyone who's lived in this neighborhood has known about this intersection, has always been concerned about this intersection. So the good news is, it looks like we are moving forward. But the key thing is to make sure that we are maintaining the lines of communication. We're giving the community an opportunity to be fully informed what's going on. Dixie Road is a regional road. When you elect your Ward 1 councillor, we serve on both the City of Mississauga and the reach and appeal levels of government. So I certainly will be insisting that our regional staff are on this project day in and day out, making sure that our local and regional interests are respected. I want to see bicycle lanes included on the new interchange overpass in a safe and a respectful way, so that we can encourage safe pedestrian and bicycle trafficking, and I'll continue to work on that as your councillor.
Nice ideas, all of them. I don't live in a bubble. I live in Port Credit. And I have yet to see any information come into my mailbox regarding this project. So communication, again, is a wonderful thing, but you gotta use the tools. So I'm not qualified to comment properly on this project, other than to say that I hope the bike lanes aren't an afterthought add-on and have been included properly in the planning process. Thank you.
The next question is going to get everybody awake. Okay, we'll start at Terry Burke. Where do all candidates stand on the issue of cannabis retail shops in Mississauga?
It's legal. No, not yet. A couple more weeks. But let's not make the mistake Oakville did and ban it. Let's handle it responsibly. Proper licensing by the provincial government. Put it in the proper hands. Nowhere near schools. All that good stuff. People are going to want it. People are going to use it. I don't see it drastically changing. But anyway. You know, Shoppers Drug Mart want to be able to sell it. You know, responsible people like that. I think if you put it in the right hands and it's handled properly, it'll work. Thank you.
Well, the new provincial government has changed the way the retail sale of cannabis will start as of April 1st, where retail stores can actually be established in communities across Ontario. I would like to see a very robust engagement by the mayor and members of council with everyone in Mississauga to determine what amendments to our zoning bylaw do we need to bring in force so that we can determine the right locations for these stores to be established. We have a bylaw right now for adult entertainment parlors, as an example. They have to be 1,000 meters away from a residential zone, 1,000 meters away from a school. These might be reasonable restrictions for us to consider in where retail cannabis stores should be able to operate, but I commit to you to have open public meetings to solicit your views and your input and recommend to our Mississauga City Council the right way to zone for these stores to exist in the city of Mississauga.
Well, in fact, we do have the provincial legislation that has been adopted, but we have yet to see what the regulations are going to look like. And I see, my belief is until we see that, we can't have an in-depth, full discussion about whether or not we should opt in or opt out. I know for the beginning of it all, we are going to have it available online, and I guess one of the big questions we have to ask as a community is: are we safer with the retail shops or without them? There is organized crime that is involved with this, and we have to ask ourselves some serious questions. But also having a great staff available at City Hall so that we can have staff recommendations that would be involved with community consultations across the board and across the city, I think are critical. Thanks.
I think we actually have to broaden the scope of this question and also ask ourselves about issues such as commercial production facilities, research facilities, and other economic drivers across this province, and whether or not we want to participate in that market and the growth that's potentially there for jobs and for industry within Mississauga, and where that should be located and amongst our employment lands. There is provincial legislation coming. There are opinions available from AMO that Mississauga participates in that we can look at, and we will need to be careful about where we're placing these in conjunction with our schools, in the same way that Ontario and Mississauga has always managed liquor sales. And I'm confident that working with the consulting process within our communities that we can manage this responsibly and safely, as long as we follow the guidelines and as long as we follow the timelines that those guidelines propose. Thank you.
The direction that I think the city should be going is implementing a franchise system where we control the marijuana stores, where we have the percentage of the money to reduce taxes to the taxpayers, that we have to reducing the spending. It would be a better idea if we had a better control of the marijuana stores. Because presently, if you let anybody come in, you don't know what's going on as well. But if the city has control of the marijuana, like the liquor stores, we would be producing a huge income for the city. We wouldn't be totally owning it, we'd be franchising it out, we'd be setting our rules, and we'd be allowing the people to have their say, because it would be part of the city, so it would be part of your community, your store. You would have a choice saying, oh, we don't want it in our neighborhood, then we wouldn't put it there. We'd find the places that would work best for the community. Thank you.
My thoughts on cannabis are two things. One, we need to ensure that we place the stores in the right place for those who need it. And number two is that we need to ensure that the community is safe. So to ensure that it's in the right place, we have to work within the municipality to identify the parameters or what the conditions are in order to have what's the ideal location of these stores. In terms of community safety, we have to have heightened security, make sure there's surveillance, and make sure we have thorough ID screenings, and making sure that we work together and identifying these as a group. So we're creating these, developing a policy will be truly important to ensure that we put these stores in the right place. Thank you.
I agree with what many of my colleagues who have said today around looking at the looking at the regulations when they actually come out so that we can see, and that zoning is going to be quite critical. Some of the models that I did like was the LCBO model, knowing that those are good jobs with pensions, knowing that they're in chosen facilities with people that are educated to answer questions from the public and also to do screening. One of the things I'm concerned with about retail shops is that there might be this perception that it's going to be supporting local businesses, and it might be like me or you know, going out and setting up shop and becoming local entrepreneurs. And that's unclear at this time. That might be big boxes coming into our communities. Certainly when we're looking at this, I think we need to be thinking about the education. How do we educate ourselves in what this product is? How do we educate ourselves about driving? What does that mean for us on the roads when we're already talking about people going too fast? What does that look like for public education, you know, while that's going out? And also thinking about, you know...
Thank you very much.
Okay, for our next question. With the increase in Dixie-Cawthra traffic from the West Village, the small arms building development, what considerations will be made to accommodate this volume?
And we start at your end.
So I don't have any solutions for this, but I have questions. And I actually, as I mentioned, I work at the G Booth wastewater facility, and as a worker there, those roads are really busy right now. And they have huge trucks coming through, and there's accidents there. And a lot of near misses coming out of that road right now. And so when we're looking at that, we're actually talking about, you know, what else do we need here? When one of those lanes goes down, it's a nightmare out there, and we don't even have the volume that we're anticipating when the construction is more along in the process. And so some of the things that I am thinking about is, you know, do we need to have more traffic people out there? Not necessarily the police, but do we need some education about what's happening there? One of the things I asked about at the consultation on Mississauga Moves was there's a bike lane there. And I don't see dotted lines, there are straight lines, but yet I see people in that lane all the time turning. And I've asked, you know, what is the public education there? Are we supposed to be turning, yes or no? When I make my right-hand turns, I stay fully in the lane.
Thank you.
When looking at traffic congestion, we need to look at, especially during rush hour, if we're able to look at the signal times and the sensors, and during rush hour, if we're able to do straight through in longer times so that people can move east to west more or north and south in those directions. Also, we should also look at HOV lanes along the QEW. During this construction of expansion, are we able to implement HOV lanes? And number one, we have to be able to protect our drivers, our cyclists, our pedestrians, our bikers. So we have to look at the design of the road and making sure that we protect everyone, and making sure there's connectivity along the roads as well, so that people are able to move. And so we also have to improve our traffic management plan and review, see where we can improve, and thank you.
Well, we have a great opportunity with GO Transit. We do need another stop at Cawthra at 3rd Street. That would help reduce the traffic flow, as well as the fact that they are trying to increase the population in that area. So we're eventually going to have even more traffic coming in. So we have to look at the ways of implementing better bike lanes, better traffic controls, so that we have a better opportunity for the people in our communities not getting killed like what's happening across the GTA lately. So that's about all that I can say for now. Thank you.
There's a lot of options we need to be looking at in regards to the traffic on Dixie and Cawthra. In Dixie in particular, one of the things that I've heard in those neighborhoods is that we really need to close that missing link and get all-day, two-way GO train coming into that Dixie GO train station so people can use it for their commute, both up through the city and down back to Dixie. We also need to get serious about looking at alternatives, such as HOV, but even HOT lanes, where someone pays for the privilege of being in those lanes. More than that, though, we have to get serious about higher order transit going east-west. I mentioned it in my speech. We need to start talking to the TTC about bringing that streetcar line in from the 501 into our community. That goes all the way downtown and through. Single payment. How much easier would that be for our students than what they're currently facing by going on a My Way bus to get onto a GO train, to get off on GO train and get onto a TTC streetcar? We need to start being serious about working on regional transit. Thank you.
Having people moving along our Lakeshore corridor, I think, is one of our truly biggest challenges that we have with with what's coming in terms of the West Village, what we have at One Port, and also Inspiration Lakeview. So I do believe that stitching that whole corridor through is critical. I think we also, from what I'm hearing from people as well, we want to have people move through it. We don't need another highway. We don't need something to drive through. We want to have something to drive to, but we want to have a quality of life in terms of how we do it. As I had mentioned earlier, I truly believe that having a pedestrian and cycling bridge that would be up by the Legion to Memorial Park would certainly help in terms of getting bicyclists off of Lakeshore, so it's safer for the bicyclists, and as well it eases congestion there. Stave Bank, I know, has been the bane of so many people's existence for ages in terms of getting across that bridge and getting through the village. So I do believe that.
And time, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So there is a Lakeshore Connects Transportation Master Plan that is being worked on right now by transportation experts and engineers that have been engaged by the City of Mississauga to undertake this study. That study will be coming to Council in the first quarter of 2019. I double-checked that with our Commissioner of Transportation and Works. So your new councillor will have an opportunity to receive that report with the Mayor and members of Council and vet some of the recommendations. When that is done, I think the appropriate thing to do is to open it up again for community consultation. Let's look at some of the ideas and options that have been suggested by some transportation experts that we should look at and determine whether or not these are doable and make sense in a longer-term transportation strategy that I think would relieve not only pressure on Lakeshore Road, but also pressure of going north on Cawthra or Dixie as potentially a cut-through. Of course, we did make